Welcome to another episode of the Bogey Golf Podcast with AIG, dedicated supporters of amateur golf in Ireland. This series will showcase some of the incredible amateur golf across Ireland this year. Go visit aig.ie for a range of golf-exclusive discounts and benefits. Golf Ireland members can save an additional 10% on their car insurance when you choose AIG Insurance. In this episode, I'm joined by Aine Donegan, who has returned to Ireland for a busy summer of amateur golf. This is after playing in the Women's US Open for the second year in a row. Aine spoke to me about how golf has been treating her over the past 12 months, from playing with Lexi Thompson at the US Open to missing out on the Palmer Cup team, and how she's worked to manage her expectations and remind herself that it's only golf.
It's fun playing tough golf courses because you shoot 2 over and you feel like you shot 5 under. I said to the guy, "What's the hold up here?" And he said Nelly had a 10.
Aine Donegan, thank you very much for coming on the podcast. Coming back on the podcast. You were on the live show last year. I guess a lot's happened and a lot's changed, but a lot hasn't changed at the same time in almost 12 months. How are you?
Good. Thanks for having me on. I'm delighted to be on. So everything's good. A lot has changed and a lot hasn't changed. Like
it's funny, isn't it?
But happy to be home for the summer and just travelling around playing different tournaments. And then back to college for my final year after the summer. So
we're recording this after round 1 of the Flogas Women's Irish Am. How was round 1?
It was okay. Could have been better. Probably the worst score I could have shot. But 2 more days. I'm a little bit behind the leader now, Anna, but 2 more days. It's a course you can go low on, so we'll see. Just trying to stay patient and hopefully it all works out.
How's that game been now since we saw the Women's Irish Open last year? You were obviously, we'll get into the US Open and being back at that. How's the game overall?
It's actually really good right now. Today wasn't a great day, but it was the worst score I could have shot. It wasn't great this semester from about end of February to kind of end of April. It was probably the worst it had been in the past year and a half, 2 years. And then my coach Gary from Glenlow Abbey, he came over to LSU. He wanted to see it for a few days, and then he came with me to Rockwall, Dallas, where the qualifier was. And ever since then, it's been really solid and really good, and I'm feeling really confident about it and feeling really good about the summer coming up.
And so you talk about kind of that dip in form. Is that just like a lack of confidence, or is it something technical that you were actually struggling with, or what is that? Because obviously Gary coming over, and did you see something, or did you just kind of give you a bit of confidence?
I think a lot of it was more mental, to be honest. More like lacking confidence, and then mental side of it just kind of affected my putting a little bit. My long game and my irons are never really too far off, but my putting was not great, and Gary kind of helped me with a little bit of my technique with my putting, but mainly mental. And like me and Donal Scott used to talk about it. We talked about it in a Zoom call recently, that like if I'm playing well, the best part of my game is more my attitude than like ball striking or putting. You know what I mean? How people say, oh, they're the best part of my game, whereas mine would be kind of my attitude and how I look at the game. So Gary kind of just reminded me of that and gave me a few little tips to help me with that, and thankfully it's been working pretty well since then, and obviously it worked well at the qualifier a week after he arrived. So that's been pretty good, and I've been working on it a lot. It's your mental game in golf is kind of like another thing you just have to practice, you know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely.
And I think it's something that people probably don't practice enough, and I think as you get better, you know, I suppose the physical aspects of golf in terms of driving, chipping, putting, irons, like once you get to high enough level, everyone's pretty similar at those. It's kind of who can keep the consistency up, and more mental game I think is really important. How
would you describe your attitude when it is good, and then we'll get into when it's quite not so good?
When it's good, I'm really present. I just think about hitting the shot in front of me. Don't think about the future. Don't think about the past. Like at that qualifier, it was very good. Probably one of the best it's been, and more probably because there was a US Open on the line, and I literally did not think of the US Open. Like I was so present and in the moment, and I was thinking about each shot as it came. So that was really positive, and it was kind of kind of like a light switch in my brain. So like I knew that does work for me. Obviously you hear people staying in the present and stuff, oh, it works, but that how like the little triggers that I have for it definitely worked. And that's kind of what I lean on now when I'm playing tournaments.
And so when you're saying you're just present in that shot and just in that one moment, what does that sound like in your head? Because I guess from like the club golfer, the average handicap golfer, I'll use myself for example. Playoff 5, my version of that is when I'm playing well, I'm literally not thinking about anything. And like you hear people saying I'm only thinking about the shot or talking about this shot, and then when I get into that, it starts bringing questions into my mind. So when you're talking about your presence in the shot, is it like
it's where I want to land it, where I want to finish, and where I'm going to start the ball. Like in my pre-shot routine, I'll be behind the ball and I'll visualize the shot in my head, and then once I'm over it, mainly if I have anything, like I wouldn't have any swing thoughts, but if I did have one, it would be kind of like a little bit slower on the way back with my tempo, because if I get nervous or I'm kind of thinking a little bit forward, my tempo gets fast.
Sure.
So if that was anything, it would be that. But really just worrying about the shot and, you know, hoping for good contact, and like more, if there's anything, it would be my tempo speaking, like telling myself, you know, you don't need to be too quick on the way back, just slow and easy. And that would be mainly it. And then in terms of, that would be over like a shot. And then in terms of like a putt, this is something me and Gary worked on, and it was like, you always hear about it in long game and in iron play. If someone hit like a bad shot, they'd be like, oh, hit that off the toe, hit that off the heel, you know, hit that off the top of the face. But no one talks about it in putting. You never hear someone miss a putt and be like, oh, I hit that way off the heel, or, you know, or that was a bad strike. You mainly just hear, oh, it was a terrible putt, or, oh, wrong read, whatever. So, or very rarely you do hear it. You do hear it from time to time, but it's rare. So when I'm over the putter and I've picked my line and I know my speed, all I want to do is just hit a good strike. Because after you hit a good strike, if it goes in, great. If it doesn't, you did the best thing you can do. Yeah. You did all you could do. It's like all you wanted to do was hit a good strike. And if you're like, I also mean hitting a good strike, you're committed to doing that. You know what I mean? And after you execute, there's nothing really you can do. Yep. Whether it goes in or not. Yeah. And I think that leads to then being able to accept the result. You know, sometimes you miss a putt and you get frustrated and, oh, I just needed to make that birdie putt or whatever. But it's like, if you committed to it, you hit it exactly how you wanted to hit it and it just didn't go in, there's not really anything else you can do. Yeah. So it makes acceptance much easier.
Yeah. You hit a good putt.
Yeah. What can you do? Yeah. You know what I mean? And sometimes you hit bad putts and they go in. Yeah. And you were very quick to accept those. So I think it works both ways, if you know what I mean.
Sure. So when you're talking about when your attitude possibly wasn't as good as it could be or should be, what was that like, and what were you thinking or saying to yourself at that point?
More thinking about the future.
Okay.
Like if I had just say I had a 30-foot putt, thinking, oh, I better not leave this 4 or 5 feet past, you know, whereas I shouldn't be thinking about that. I should just be thinking about trying to make it, trying to make the putt, or trying to get it as close as possible and hitting as good a strike as possible. And then the result will look after itself. You know what I mean? So I think that's kind of got into my head a little bit, and I was mainly thinking about the next shot instead of the one I was actually hitting, especially on the greens. But it's easier said than done, obviously. It's still a work in progress, but I think it's something that's really benefited me around the greens.
How's the year been in college? How are you enjoying life over in LSU?
Oh, I love it. Wouldn't change it. Wouldn't change the school, the coaches, the people. LSU was very successful school in sports, in collegiate sports. I think we won the national championship in football in 2019, and then gymnastics last year, baseball the year before, women's basketball same year as baseball. So it's really not easy to win a national championship, and you see how many of our like major sports have won them. I think track and field have won a few individuals. Do
you feel that pressure as a golf team?
Not at all, because we're actually one of the better teams in terms of our ranking. Like, I don't know if we might be the best LSU team right now. Well, the gymnastics won, but they're one. But we're ranked third right now in the country, and like a lot of the other LSU teams, they are in the top 10 in the country in their chosen sport. But we'd be up there. We just haven't kind of broken that national championship barrier yet. But we thought we were going to do it this year. We came tied first in the stroke play. First time we've ever qualified for match play as a school.
Really?
In school history. First time we ever had 3 players in the top 10. School history. And we all did that as a team. So in college golf, 5 people play and 4 scores count. And Ingrid, #1 player in the world on our team, she had never not counted in 5 years in college. She was never that top scoring. She had 2 tough rounds at nationals, the first time she's ever not counted in her final ever tournament in college. But we still came tied first, and I think it showed that, you know, there is more depth on our team, and it kind of proved to a lot of people, I think, that, you know, we're not a one-man team and there's a lot of other people on the team. So nationals was really good. LSU is such a good school for golf. It's a good school for every sport, but we've all the resources available. Our coaches are great. They're actually the Palmer Cup coaches this year for the US team.
Interesting.
So to show how good they are. And then
so they're hitting you up then for advice on, you know, how to get around Lahinch a little bit?
I don't know. I won't say.
That's a yes.
But they're kind of like our family over there. You know, there's a lot of internationals on our team, and we lean on them for any help we need on the course or off the course. Like my coach Garrett, he has often helped me fix a flat tire. I've had a couple of flat tires over there. I haven't had much car luck.
Is that a regular thing, is it?
The roads in Baton Rouge are really bad.
Okay.
But I've had like 3, I think. So I've had kind of bad luck with my car over there. But he's often helped me with that. And that's like not technically in his duties under his job description. But they're great. And we have a great few freshmen coming in next year. Obviously, we've lost kind of our 3 big dogs this year, but next year it should be fun as well.
You talk about, you know, obviously being on Ingrid's team, and she's turning pro now. She is now professional. What do you learn from a player of her caliber? Obviously, what she's achieved as an amateur golfer is pretty special.
Yeah, work ethic. Just seeing how hard she practices, how much she practices, and more how she practices, I would say.
In what way?
Full routine, dialed in, you know, focused. You'll never see her like half practicing with no purpose, I would say. She prefers to practice than play. I asked her that before, and she said,
really?
I love the grind. She's like, I love the grind. I prefer to practice.
Oof.
So she doesn't play that much. When we have to play, we'll play, but she would rather practice than go out and play if our coach gave us the option. So it's obviously, it works for her, you know, she's found her kind of formula, which is interesting because most people would prefer to play.
Yeah.
I would say. But she's just turned pro, so hopefully she does well. I actually think she did well yesterday. She was coming top 5, I think, in the Epsom Tour for the first round. So she's great. Latana's great as well. Latana Stone, she's probably the 2nd best player ever at LSU, and Latana probably doesn't get enough credit because of how good Ingrid has been. But Latana be one of my best friends, and she's coming to Lahinch for that Palmer Cup as well. And she's extremely talented, and it's been great to kind of see them and see how they've flourished the past 2 years.
I say also being close with them and being teammates with them, being the year ahead of you in college, as they turn pro, you probably have to watch their progression, and then if that's a route that you go down in a year or so's time, you'll have a couple of people whose brain you can pick, which is always helpful. Yeah,
I actually think that the best decision I ever did was take a gap year after secondary school.
Yeah,
because I was supposed to go to Indiana, and then COVID hit, and it was kind of awkward timing, and I could have gotten the visa, but I just said, look, I'll take a gap year. I worked in a factory for a year, because it's the only place I could work because the golf courses are closed with lockdown, and now I've a year left in college. I kind of got a year of real world work in my belt, and then I'll have a lot of friends now who have gone pro a year before me, so I can kind of ask them all for advice on what to do and what not to do. And obviously there's a few Irish girls going pro as well, I presume, after the summer, Sarah and Anna and a few more maybe, but Lauren obviously has gone pro, and it'll be great. So I know a lot of girls in college who've turned pro, and it'll be great to ask for advice and just kind of how to maneuver different things, and whether to stay in America, whether to stay in Europe. You know, that's the big question, I think, for us Europeans at the moment.
Yeah.
So thank God I haven't a year before they all do it.
Yeah. Because it's a pity there isn't that female equivalent of the PGA Tour U. Because the college system is so good at developing talents, and we've obviously had so many Irish go over there and do so well, yourself included, that so many people obviously come back and finish college or turn pro, and you're like, what's the road? Like, there doesn't seem to be a natural route. Obviously the DP World Tour has announced that for the men's side. You'd love to see the equivalent for the women's game.
Yeah, I actually was talking about that with my coaches at Nationals. I was like, why isn't there an LPGAU? And I wouldn't be surprised if it comes in.
It has to at this point.
It has to, but I don't know if it'll come in the year I'm in college.
That would be quick if they were to just
but I mean,
it
kind of helps for people like Ingrid, for example, who Ingrid should be on the LPGA Tour.
For sure.
You know what I mean? And now she's kind of got to fight her way on the LPGA Tour and play a lot of events to get onto it. Whereas I think, like, you see just how good Ludwig is.
Yeah.
And he got straight onto it, and he's not dominating the PGA Tour, but he's in the top 10 players in the world.
Yeah.
And, you know, he would have had to go through Q schools, and he would have had to get sponsors exemptions and stuff like that. Whereas with PGA Tour U, he's straight on, and then boom, boom, boom. Next thing you know, he's at a Ryder Cup.
Yeah.
So I think it'll come in eventually. I just don't think it'll come in. I haven't heard anything.
Yeah.
So
it would be very, very, because I also haven't heard any kind of rumbles.
Yeah.
You know, the way with the DP World Tour, you heard this thing was coming in.
Yeah.
But like, I've been hearing that for like 2 years.
Yeah.
And then now it's only coming in for the end of this year, next year. To do it this year would be, for the women's, would be fast, and you wouldn't want them to rush it to do it wrong.
No, you want to do it right.
Right. What was the factory that you were working in?
The factory, I worked in a factory that did the lenses for glasses. So it kind of looked like telescope lenses, but it's actually we would send them off to labs, and they would kind of
then put
grind
them
them down to, you know, just glasses, normal glasses, lenses, and they'd give them prescriptions and stuff. But we were kind of like the first rows of production, I presume.
Okay.
So yeah, they were like big lenses, and I was just scanning them all day, like while they were packed, and sending them off to, I think they were sent to Poland, Thailand, Philippines. So
wow.
8 o'clock to 4 o'clock would be my shift, 8 hours, day shift, 8 a.m. in the morning to 4 p.m. at night, 4 p.m. during the day. It was actually quite difficult working there during the winter months, because you go in and it's dark, and you wouldn't see any daylight because there's no windows in the factory, and then you'd go home and it's dark. So you didn't really see much daylight. So that was tough. But it kind of made me realize I didn't want to do it for the rest of my life and kind of work hard, and, you know.
Sure, yeah.
So it was a great experience, and it was a great way to earn money for a year where I couldn't do anything else anyways.
Yeah.
So I was like one of those frontline workers who could go to work. But yeah, that was a great experience. I wouldn't change it. I learned a lot in there, and learned a lot of punctuation and even work ethic, you know, and always kind of make it look like you're doing work, even if you might not be doing work, and stuff like that.
Look busy.
Yeah, exactly.
How did that job come about?
I know someone who works in there. One of my neighbours works in there, and I actually didn't know that, but I just applied for a load of factories because I knew that they'd be open.
Yeah.
Because at the time, I don't think we were in lockdown, but I think it was like a week after I got in there, we went back into another lockdown in Ireland.
Okay, right.
So I was working in a coffee shop, and it wasn't for me, working in like waitressing and stuff. I was
service industry.
No, not for me. No. I was only in there like 2 weeks, and I was like, I just can't do this. So then I applied for a load of factories in Ennis, because I wasn't able to drive at the time, and got in there. And then I think the guy, my neighbour, saw my CV or something, and he was like, "Oh, I know Anya." So that's how I got in there.
That you said there earlier, it must have been a great experience to know this is not what I want to do with my life.
Yeah.
Like, you have the opportunity to go and compete and create a great life as a golfer. Mm-hmm. You're like, this is a good first-hand experience to know this is not what I want to do.
Yeah, it was a great experience, but I couldn't see myself there for over a year. But I wouldn't change it.
So why the move from Indiana to LSU?
Indiana was a great school. I loved it. And I think when people see other people transfer, they think they're having a terrible time or something. But I loved school at Indiana, and I loved the people, and I loved the campus. It just wasn't great for golf. Our facility was okay, not bad, but not great. And then the weather wasn't good. It was snowing during the winter, and it was cold from like October to nearly end of April, middle of April kind of time. So it was just wasn't good for golf. So I decided I'm gonna go into the transfer portal here and see what my options are at least. And a few nice schools reached out to me, and I went on a couple of visits, and ultimately LSU was my choice. But I loved it. That's purely the only reason for the transfer, was just for golf, the golf side of it.
Well, I mean, we're talking about that's your career.
So that's why I was there, and I don't regret it at all, but I also don't regret going there. Yeah. So I think it all worked out quite nicely, actually.
What's that transfer portal like? I haven't heard about that before. I know you hear of students transferring, but is there literally just a website?
So I think there's a software that a lot of the universities use called ARMS software. I think I had to fill out a form on that or something like that, and it's kind of like a notice of transfer. So that notice is basically sent to your coaches and to like administration kind of. It's not administration, but it's like a part of it. It's just easier to explain it like that.
Sure.
And basically they then put your name into the transfer portal. So you yourself cannot put your name in the portal, but you can fill out a form that will...
You said you request...
Yeah, you request to be in it, and they have to put you in it within 48 hours. That's by law, they have to put you in it. Okay. So like, there's people who... I spoke to my coaches and I spoke to administration before I went in the portal. But there's people who the coaches are notified one day going into the transfer portal.
Really?
It happens. I would say it happens a lot in football because there's a lot of players and there's transferring going on a lot in football. But yeah, you can do that. It's not a great look, especially in a small sport, like small team sport. But that's what I did. And then you get into the portal, and then you don't see the portal. It's just the coaches can look at it. So I don't know who's in the transfer portal right now.
Okay.
No one knows. Only the coaches.
Okay.
So they can see, and then they can reach out, and you can put like guidelines on what you want. So like I said, I take the box of I can contact coaches, and I take the box of coaches can contact me. But there's some people who only they want to contact coaches. So just say they wanted to go to a certain schools or something. Sure. Their email isn't bombarded with emails, and they just say, I want to contact a coach. That's it. So that's kind of how it works. And then I got a lot of emails to like a lot of schools, some good, some okay, some bad. And then there's some like Hawaii. And it's like, oh, I'd love to go there, just to see it or even go on a visit. But I ended up choosing LSU, and don't regret my decision at all.
Was it a tough decision process?
It was very difficult. Yeah, I'm not going to say the other school just out of respect, but let's just say before the visits, I thought I was going to the other school. And then LSU just kind of blew me away, to be honest, and the coaches just blew me away. I didn't know much about LSU, and I didn't really do my research before going. Sure. At all. And then I just got there and I was like, whoa, like this place is really, really cool.
What was it? Was it just the facilities, or was it just
the facilities, the football, kind of like LSU? I feel like any school that has big football, or in general in America, like a lot of people are really tied to the school and really connected to the school, and I found that even more at LSU. It's just one big community.
That's cool.
Obviously it's in the south, the people are really nice, the food is good there, and just I loved all the sports. It's such a good place for sport, and as I said, there's been so many national champions recently, and their new kind of motto is like, why not LSU? And it's so true. It's like, it's just so good. It's such a good school for sport.
So have you invested into going to other college sports and football and tailgating and all that side of it? Yeah.
Oh, we love the football games, tailgating, everything. It's the best. It's nothing like it. Nothing like it in Ireland. It's even it's such an event, and it's on like, I don't know, 5 or 6 times in the space of 4 months. And it's like, there's the closest thing we get to that in Ireland is like the All-Ireland final, and it's still not the same.
Really?
It's just such a production they put on, and that's happening across hundreds of schools, college schools in the US at the same time. And it's just like, they know how to run an event. I mean, people will have seen the Super Bowl and stuff like that, and the college football games aren't too much different. It's really a really good production, and the tailgating is really fun. You get to meet loads of people through it. And then I've also been to the baseball, I really like the basketball because it's quick. The football takes a long time. It's a full day out. But there's basketball games on like nearly every night in the spring season. Yeah, because there's the women's and the men's. Yeah. And our women's team are really, really good. And the coach is really famous. And like they're all like celebs almost. The women's basketball team, they're all doing really well, and it's great to see. And then obviously the gymnastics is great. Yeah. Great to watch as well.
Does that celebrity transfer over to the golf as much?
I doubt it.
That's fair enough. You mentioned a little bit earlier on that your coaches in college are the Arnold Palmer Cup team coaches. Mm-hmm. You were talking about a little bit of a dip in the form on your side for the international team. Mm-hmm. Missing out on that squad must have been tough, especially considering where it's been held. Yeah,
it was tough. It was tough the first day, or the day the teams found out, because I knew that day. It was the day before, and obviously Latana, my teammate, had been picked. Sure. So she'd told me, and I knew I hadn't got a call. But I kind of knew before, because of how I had played. I knew you have to play really well. It's not easy to get on that team, and I kind of knew before it that I needed to probably win the tournament before that to even have a chance, and I didn't even play well at that. It was tough, but teams, you've no control over teams. And like that's something, Gary came like 3 days after that, I think, to LSU after that team was picked, and I kind of mentioned it to him again, and he said, Anya, you have no control over teams. He said, whatever team is picked, that's the team that's selected, especially a team that there's no automatic spots in for a certain reason. You know what I mean? But like the Arnold Palmer, they had no automatic spots. It was a complete committee selection, and I didn't play well enough to get on it, and they probably made the right decision not putting me on it. But he said that you've no control over that. The only thing you have control over is how you do play in the next tournament. Yeah. And the next one and the next one. And he kind of was basically saying that to me because I had a US Open qualifier to prep for. And he said, you can control at a US Open qualifier to go to the US Open. You know what I mean? But you can't control throughout a semester whether or not you're going to get picked on this team. Yeah. Because I could have played the best I've ever played and still not got picked.
That's it, yeah.
You know what I mean? Because it's a full committee selection.
Yeah, it's completely subjective.
Yeah, so that's kind of what it is. And that I'm pretty over it now. I am over it. I hope they have a great week. I hope they have great weather and they show off Lahinch, in its best form. And I hope that a lot of spectators come out to see. Obviously, I know most of the people there because they're all from college. Yeah. But no, I hope everyone has a great week, and it's going to be a great week for Lahinch and just Irish golf in general.
Yeah, Irish golf for a number of reasons, obviously in Lahinch, but also just the amount of Irish on the team now as well. It's very impressive.
Yeah, exactly. And I know Kate and Sarah are going to have a great week, and they fully deserve to be honest. Obviously, I think Kate got an automatic spot through the RNA, but Sarah fully deserved to be on that team, and I think she's going to have a great time. And then hopefully the week after that we go on and win European teams.
So you went on, you qualified for US Open, your second US Open. Before we get into like the details of Lancaster and the week for you, how different was your first US Open versus your second?
Really different. I think the first one was more like I was completely blown away by it all, by the whole show, how it all worked, seeing all the different pros and the people you normally see on TV, and then to play how I did and to have the crowd that I did, it was kind of just a huge high the whole week. And I think at this one I kind of felt more like, I deserve to be here. You know what I mean? I know I'm good enough to compete here. And I think the expectations were different. Not that I had huge expectations for Lancaster, but, it was kind of like last year I was just so happy to be there, whereas this year I was ready to compete. And obviously I didn't play how I wanted to play, but it was still a very great experience. And like, as people say, I've heard this a lot, and it's like you don't really learn from great times, you learn from mistakes. And I learned a lot that week. got to play with some pretty Lexi again. She announced her retirement during our practice round, and played with Bailey Tardy as well, who had also done really well at Pebble, and she's kind of just newly turned pro. I think she's pro 4 years now, and she went through the Epsom Tour, and she was really nice, and I asked her a lot of questions about kind of being pro and all that, and she was really nice and really helpful, and just getting to play another one, and the crowds at Lancaster were huge. They were, I don't know if they were record, but I think they were predicted to be record attendance.
Okay, wow.
The record attendance was held at Lancaster in 2015.
Okay.
The last time the US Open was on there, so
they love their golf there, obviously.
They love the golf. Philadelphia just loves sport in general. The golf course was extremely difficult. The most difficult golf course I've ever played, no doubt about it. And I wouldn't even be able to tell you my top 3. It's just I know Lancaster's top. Not just because it was the US Open, there's nerves, but even in the practice rounds, like I was asking the girls, the pros, who have played, like Lexi, who's played 18 US Opens. I said, do you find this golf course hard? And she said, yes, extremely difficult. Like, and I asked Bailey, and she had been like, yeah, this is like, her and her caddy were talking about it when I asked her, and she was like, we were just talking about it. Like, it's so difficult. It's just so tough. And I think it was heavily dominant on hitting the fairways and having a really, really good short game in terms of putting. And I think it showed at the top of the leaderboard. A lot of the players were from Asia, and they're good off the tee, and they're good at putting. And that's what they're kind of known for. Yeah. And it showed in the results. And I think a lot of big names missed the cut, and I'm not embarrassed to miss the cut or anything, nothing like that. It was a great experience again to be there, and all these kind of experiences are more learning for the future and when I do eventually turn pro.
It's unfair to say from a spectator's perspective, but I loved the chaos. I loved the carnage. Yeah. It looked really tough.
Yeah.
But I think we scream every year about how we want the US Open on the men's side to be really tough.
Yeah.
I think it would just be ingenuine if you were to turn around and go, but make that easy for yourselves. I don't think you need it 52 weeks of the year.
Yeah.
But once a year, I think it's great.
Yeah, I agree. And I said it, we were talking about it. I was talking about it with Latanic. She was there as well. And I was like, yeah, it's tough. But I was like, I like it. You know what I mean? Like, the best is going to win. Yeah. And we were trying to predict what the winning score was going to be. And we were kind of like, I thought it was going to be 1 over or even par.
Sure.
In the practice rounds.
Yeah.
I think it was 2 under, I think, 1-ish or 1 under 1-it. But it's fun playing tough golf courses because you shoot 2 over and you feel like you shot 5 under sometimes. You know what I mean? So I agree with you there. And the same, like this week, the men's US Open is on, and it's great to see people struggling. And I think the pros are so good that they should be able to play on a really difficult course once a year in a big tournament.
For sure.
It was funny during my first round. There was a big hold up on the 12th, the par 3, and we got down to the green, and we had to let the group behind us play into the green. And I said to the guy, "What's the hold up here?" And he said, "Nelly had a 10," and that was the hole Nelly had a 10 on. And it was all over Twitter that day. It was all over Instagram, like, world number 1 makes a 10, and it just shows like these people are human. Tiger Woods is human, Rory McIlroy is human, like,
and golf doesn't care.
Yeah,
if you're world number 1.
No, it doesn't. And I think sport in general doesn't care. You know what I mean? Like, Rory McIlroy might never win a major again, but does that mean he's had a bad career? Yeah, I know. But I'm just saying, does that mean has he had a bad career? No, like, he's very much human, and I think Rory probably gets even too much stick off even Irish media, because it's like he's literally from a small town in Northern Ireland, you know what I mean? And he's like probably, I would say, the face of golf, take out Tiger Woods.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that's what I like. I think that's what people love about golf and hate about golf, is that it brings the highs, but it also, when you're struggling, it definitely brings the lows.
You spoke a little bit earlier about expectations. Different expectations going into the different tournaments. How do you handle internal expectations?
I think that just comes back to staying in the present. I mentioned it before I played the US Open, that the expectations were a little bit different going into my second one compared to my first one. But I think it's always going to be an up and down. It's always easier said than done. But really, taking it each shot at a time. I know it's so cliche, but like it really is.
Golf needs a new phrase for that.
Yeah. But really staying present and just committing to your processes, and like I think just being prepared, that would be a big one. Like if you are really prepared, you can have a little bit more expectations. Everyone has to have a little bit of expectation for themselves, or else they might not hold themselves to a high enough standard sometimes. But I think that preparation, knowing you've practiced, knowing you've prepared how you should and how you want to, is important. And then dealing with if you don't meet expectations, or dealing with if you've a bad round. And my kind of mantra is like, I'm pretty chill in general, and like it's just golf. Like, it's really not the end of the world. And that's kind of how I said, like how I dealt with the Palmer Cup news. Like, it's not the end of the world. I have loads of friends outside of golf who have no idea about my golf and who don't really care. They care, but like if I told them I didn't make the Palmer Cup team and I was disappointed, that they probably wouldn't think about it 10 minutes later.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
They go, oh, that's unfortunate.
Oh yeah, but you get the next one.
Yeah.
But it's like, it's just not that big a deal. Like there's so much more to life, and I think if you get too deep into it, you'll just spiral and you'll go crazy, and it'll be all over all your social media. But I have a lot of interests outside of it, and a lot of friends outside of golf who know nothing about it. And I'm very grateful to have that, because I know people who don't, and it is their life, and it is their like constant thinking is golf, and all their friends are golf, and it's hard to get away from it then, and on the days then that it's bad, it's like bad. Really bad. Yeah. Whereas like today, round 1 of the Irish Stroke Play, I didn't play how I wanted to, but tomorrow's another day. Like it's not the end of the world. And that's the great thing about golf, is there will be another day always, and it really isn't the end of the world. So you see kind of people, even Tom McKibben yesterday probably struggled through the first 2 rounds or so at the US Open, and then boom, made birdie on the last hole, and he does have another day to play, and the other 2 rounds don't really matter. Same with Scotty Scheffler, world number 1. So there'll always be another tournament to play in, and it's not life or death. It really isn't.
Yeah, I think it's funny. Was it when you came home a couple of weeks ago, you pretty much the next day went straight to the Clare GAA match, the hurling match?
Yeah.
Straight away, perfect example of like, you come home very easy. The first thing you could do is go play Lynch or whatever with your mates, but no, you're off to the GAA.
Yeah, and all my friends, a lot of my best friends from school, I'd still be very, very close with them, and they were all going to San Diego for the summer. Typical when I'm coming home, they're going over, but they were all going 3 days, the day after the Clare match, actually, the morning after. So one of my friends is going to Greece, and she was getting a bus from Ennis at 4 a.m. that night. And then the girls, all the rest of the girls were going to San Diego. They were getting a bus from 7, and I was like to them, we're going to the match, you guys are going to the match, I'm never home. And they said, yeah, we'll go to the match, because you are never home. You know what I mean? Some of them didn't want to go because they were going to be wrecked, but they just went because firstly it'll be fun, obviously, and then another one was we don't get to spend that much time together. And I went straight to the Clare match pretty much when I was home, and unfortunately we didn't get the result we wanted, but it was a great day out. It was a good game. No one seems to be able to get past Limerick right now, but we might get in the back door. We still have 3 more matches, hopefully, until the All-Ireland, until we can lift the All-Ireland, pretty much. I'm happy that I've other things outside of golf, and I'd have a pretty good social life, outside of it as much as I can. And like around the Christmas periods and stuff, I like to, go on a few trips. I went to New York and I went to Miami last Christmas, and I kind of do a little trip at Christmas because it's very difficult in the summer because we're so busy. Yeah.
It's. I say you don't get too many summer holidays, do you?
I haven't been on holiday in like 6 years. Yeah. Well, but without the clubs. Yeah. Like since TY of school. But hopefully this summer we might find a spare 5 days in there somewhere.
Take a long weekend somewhere. Yeah. This might be, again, you're talking about how you stay present, and that's kind of what you're focusing on now. But we've got busy summer, and then one more year of college, maybe a full year of college, depending upon the way things go. What have you got left that you'd love to achieve from the amateur side of golf?
I'd love to play Curtis Cup. I would love to play my way into that field at Augusta, the women's amateur.
Yeah.
Been there the last 2 years to watch, and it's similar to a US Open vibe.
Sure.
There's not as many grandstands and stuff, but it's definitely very similar vibe to the US Open, and it's kind of people we're always competing with.
Is that not really frustrating, being there watching your teammates knowing you can't play?
Yeah, it's frustrating. It's frustrating when you kind of know you're as good as everyone else.
Yeah.
Because you're playing with them week in, week out. But it's also really fun because it's kind of like we were saying it this year. Like so less stress. You know, you're just watching. It's like you're not stressed on the golf course.
Fair.
But it's amazing, and that would be a big goal. I'd love to do that. But if I don't, it's not the end of the world, you know. I'd love to win the national championship. And I've won a tournament in college in my freshman year. I won one with Indiana as an individual, but it wasn't a very big event, and I'd like to win like a big college event.
Sure.
So that's still in the works, but mainly just enjoy it. Like, college goes by so fast, and I think in the last year, like even Latana said it, like just right before she graduated this year, she's like, this year's just gone by so fast. You know, her 5th year, she spent 5 years in college, and she was like, it just goes by so fast, and mainly just enjoy it and just kind of get to experience all the things that we do and should get to experience in college, like football games and all that. And then probably go to a new state. That's what I want to do as well. Travel to a new state in the US.
How many have you been to?
Oh, I don't know. A lot. I've been to quite a few. I haven't counted. I need to count. I know, but it's definitely over 15 states anyways.
Okay. Is there a particular state that you're, like Hawaii obviously jumped out to you earlier?
Yeah, I would like to go to Hawaii. Hawaii probably isn't going to be on the list. I'd love to go to somewhere like Alaska or something. Somewhere random. Or I haven't been to Nevada. I haven't been to Vegas. Maybe I could go to Vegas at some stage, but just travel to a new state, or even Montana. I know that's really nice as well. So I don't know. We'll see. One of my best friends is moving to New York next year, so maybe we can make a little trip. Colorado is actually a big one. That's the one. Colorado. That's the one I want to go to.
That's got to be achievable from your college schedule, no? Colorado's got a good golf system.
Yeah, it's too far west for us.
For you guys, okay.
Yeah, it would. I wouldn't want to go on a golf trip. It would be like
you want to go
holiday.
See Colorado?
Yeah, that's what I want to do.
Very good.
I don't want to. If I go to a new state golfing, that's fine, but you don't get to see much.
Yeah,
so
fair enough. My last question is just what motivates you? You seem to have. We've been very lucky that this year we got to speak to a lot of amateur golfers, professional golfers, and people just within sport as a whole. And your outlook on sport and life is probably one of the most mature and self-aware of anyone that we've spoke to. Which is like, you're 22, so that's also very rare.
What motivates me? I'd say being competitive, being really competitive in anything I've done before, like whether that be even school, golf, hurling, Gaelic football, soccer. I've always been very competitive, and I think doing that and then seeing success from hard work motivates me. And that's really it. You know, firstly you got to be competitive, because if you're not competitive, you won't get to this level. And then seeing success from work that has been done behind the scenes that no one has seen you do would be a big one as well.
Very good. Well, best of luck over the next 3 days, and the best of luck this summer. And no doubt we'll be in touch again at some point.
Thanks, Johnny. Thanks, Jordan.
On the tee, Jack Nicklaus.
This is the minute that millions around the world have waited for.
We will allow you to enjoy all of this. They are dancing in the pubs of Dublin. Harrington with an ace.
And we have a shining star at sunset. Rory continues his run to greatness.
The return to glory